between waiting for paint to dry and things to dry on the Bel Air, primers or paints or things, you know, just waiting on, you know, drier days to do the painting, I've been doing some other things in the garage, and one of them has been working on my project REO Trikeabout. And as you can see, I've been picking stuff up to kind of do it. I was looking for a kid's bike in an estate sale for a front tire and to cut a little bit of the front forks off, but I ended up buying this one on Amazon for $8.40. I don't know how they can sell a tire so inexpensive that, you know, and ship it and make a profit. But anyway, we get, it's probably just some, you know, I'm sure it's Chinese. It doesn't say made in China on it anywhere. It doesn't say where it was made. And yeah, I didn't see anywhere on it, but it'll do the job what I want it to do. I'm going to paint this and the spokes and the hub and everything the cream that REO used, and I'm going to make discs for here that'll come right to the edge here. And I got these at Harbor Freight, and they're $7 a piece. And but anyway, these are going to be the rear wheels. I'm thinking I'm bolting this and turning it around so the stem's on the inside, so I can check the air in the tires easily, because I'm going to, like I say, I'm going to make a disc to. And I'm probably going to paint the wheel black, at least the edge of the wheel, because when I want that disc on here, I don't want to see any of that white or other color. I want it to look like the lawnmower, go right from the cream wheel hub to the black tire. And I'm going to have REO in the on the disc, that just like the lawnmowers had. And I was hunting around and I found a piece of steel for an axle, so now I can start, you know, figuring out how I want to, you know, mount everything. And I'm going to put a V-belt pulley on here, and I'm going to, the biggest one I want to put on, it's 8-inch. It's going to come to about there, right to the ribs in the tire. And I really wanted the biggest one I could put on here so that it doesn't go terribly fast. I'll probably have to put a little tiny pulley. I'll have to get the math formula. I have something that shows RPM of this pulley to the size pulley you have in here to the size tire you have to how fast you'll travel speed-wise. So I want to figure out, try and keep it under 20 miles an hour. And so I have to, if I can find a pulley small enough for that cam. The cam will probably be running about 1,500 RPM, so that the pulley sizes might not be as big of a deal. And, you know, driving off the cam, that'll be a little torquey, so it'll have enough power. The engine, I think, is 1.25 horsepower at 4,000 RPM. That's a governed RPM, and I'm probably going to govern it at a maximum of 3,000 RPM. So it's probably going to be putting out about 3/4 horsepower, and it's going to be off the cam, so it's going to have a little bit of torque, because the cam is the output shaft on these REO engines. But that's kind of what I'm thinking there with the disc that says REO. The engine's going to be mounted here. I got a plate and rubber mounts for the engine on the plate. You know, so the engine will kind of sit in here, so I'm going to have to cut the frame off. I got some tubing over here to kind of extend this. But if you look really closely, I've looked at these bikes on the internet. It's a Sears tricycle made by Murray, and this kind of curves around, and this was white, this fancy, I don't know if that, I hope that shows up in the video. You can barely see it, and this head was white. So I'm gonna, like I say, I'm gonna paint this up, like try and give it that lawnmower, REO lawnmower-y look. It's gonna have, REO was the biggest manufacturer of lawnmowers in the 1950s. And and they were expensive. And what I thought I would do, and they made other things too, like they had a Trikeabout and the runabout lawnmower. That's why it's going to say Trikeabout on it right here in little red letters. And the REO is going to be on the hub, as I said. And then this frame and all this will be the cream color. But I'm going to paint this the engine green, this where it was white. And this edge here was white too originally. You can probably see a little bit of that difference in in the video. That's going to be green. The seat will be cream, and I'm probably going to have to make this taller. I'm not going to make these any wider. I kind of like them like that, and I picked up some hand grips because this is going to have a governed steady speed engine with a control like this on it, and I'm thinking I'm going to mount it this way, so it's like the shifter in a car, and that would be park, you know, like a console floor shift, and then that would be fast, slow, and then stop the engine. So I'll have to take the flywheel off so I can run a little wire from the points up here, maybe to something with the spring, so and put a little barrel thing on the cable, so when it comes back it hits the spring and shuts the engine off. So that, I was kind of thinking of putting it that way, more lawnmower-y that way, but I kind of like the look of it better like that. That would be like a car in park when it's just sitting. And then the foot pegs, I'm going to cut. See, now that's why I was going to get forks here too. See, these bolt on to the forks here, and this has the bearing for the front wheel. So when I take the front wheel off, there's going to be nowhere to mount that. So I was looking for a bike I could cut and I'd like to make the forks just a little bit longer. This tire here is 15.5 inches from bottom to top. This tire is 16 inches and obviously a little wider. So that'll fit in that wide fender. That'll look good. I'm happy with that. But I'm going to cut these, after I get this apart, I'm going to cut these off back in here. And these are going to be the foot pegs, and I can weld them somewhere, maybe attach them where these bolts are, put them through the hole and weld them through. And then these, I picked these up, and these just happen to be the right ones to fit on the shaft. Those are going to be the foot pegs, so they're both going to be out like that, one on each side. They're both going to be in the same position, so you know, it's not going to be one back and one forward. They're both going to be in the same because they're going to be permanently welded. And these will be on it, and those will be the foot pegs. And these, like I said, will be the grips. Because it's going to be 3 colors only. I want, well, other than the black tires, the rubber stuff, but it's, and the aluminum on the engine, it's going to be this green, the cream that REO uses, and all the lettering is going to be red. So like when I make the REO, I'll make them out of vinyl. And I'm not decided if I'll make like the positive that says REO or if I'll make a negative that I can stick on there and then paint the REO on and pull the vinyl off. That is what I'm going to do here though. See the pattern on here? I'm going to make a negative of that so I can put it on the cream paint and then spray that in the engine green and then pull a vinyl decal off, and you'll only see the green here. I may do that with the REO, and I don't know about, I'm going to, on this throttle, true to lawnmowers, I'm going to have it say stop, throttle, or stop, and then slow, it'll have throttle, and then fast. And so, you know, it'll show where you put it to stop the engine, where the engine will idle, and where the engine will run at its highest speed. And the controls are going to be squeeze handles. This side's going to be the clutch, true to cars and motorcycles. You know, the car always has the clutch on the left and the brake on the right. So this is going to be the clutch. And it's just going to tighten the belt against the pulleys to make it go. And then this will be the brake, and I'm going to put a disc brake on this side. So this side's going to have a V-belt pulley. This side's going to have a disc brake. Then I'll make little sheet metal covers for both those that will be painted in this color, because that's the mechanicals. On REO lawnmowers, a lot of the mechanicals are in this color, and a lot of the just, you know, look nice, like the deck and the handles and stuff, are in this color. And I'll show you kind of what I'm thinking of for the pull handles, and I'll show you here. Just give me a second. This is kind of what I'm thinking, something like this, a smaller version that'll be down here instead. You know, instead of pushing down to make the trike go, you'll pull this up, but I can make it fold over and bolt through a little bracket, and then I can put a Bowden cable on it. And I'll probably have to make the clutch thing arm long enough so I have torque with it. This snowblower is a 1976, and this yellowy stuff is not rust. This thing was painted with what they called a corrosion guard when it was new. It was like a clear paint. The whole machine, the switches, everything was just covered in it. And over the years, it's been peeling off. You can see where it's peeling off the bucket. But yeah, and it was on the gas tank. It was like they just sprayed the whole machine inside and out, top to bottom, even the underside of it. And I think that's one of the reasons this machine's held up so well, is because of that corrosion guard. But anyway, back to the trike. So now you can kind of get the idea what I'm doing once the engine's here, you know, and I get the belt. I'll have this, and I can cut this, you know, if I need to cut some out and weld some in or do whatever, because it's going to have a little belt tensioner, like I say. So the handle will be here, you'll squeeze, and I'll pull it, well, a little thing here for the cable, and try and neatly run the cables. Maybe I was thinking, you know, even boring a hole and running it through the tubing, but I don't know. The seat's going to have to be moved back probably to about here, so I'll have to extend that and move the seat back a little bit, along with moving this forward enough to fit the engine in there. It's going to be a tight fit to sit on and ride, but it's going to be a fun little toy. Anyway, now I'm at the step to where I think I can start ripping things apart on this and get these rear wheels and axle out and get this thing welded in, and I'll just, you know, I'll have to probably eventually cut it off. I'm just going to tack everything together. Nothing's going to be welded up solid until it's done and runs and moves. You know, you never know when you have to change things. I'll tack it together, and then when everything fits, I'll weld it enough to where it won't come apart. And then if it runs and moves the way I want it to, then I'll weld everything up solid. Obviously take it apart, weld everything up solid, and paint everything. That's kind of my goal. I like this green. I really like it a lot. And I think with the cream and the red, it's going to look just amazing. I'm really looking forward to doing this project. I think it's going to be cool as heck. That's about where the engine will be sitting too. So, you know, I might eventually take the gas tank off and put something else on it for a gas tank. But for now, I like this tank, so I may leave it like that. The muffler I'm going to change a little bit because, you know, it exhausts out these ends, and I don't want carbon all over the sheet metal. So I might hack the muffler off here and weld a plate on the end and turn the muffler so, you know, it's up and down like instead of side to side. And I might take this plate off too and make another one with a little tube that sticks out, and then I'll make a sheet metal thing that kind of goes underneath. That's kind of pie shaped similarly, so it sticks out. You can kind of, it'll be on this side, but you can kind of see this ribbing, and it might be on this side. We'll see where I decide to run the pipe, but probably that side. So I want to make it so the outlet's about that wide. Kind of make it look like a hot rod car, cut it off on a little bit of a bevel, maybe weld a little piece in there with a bunch of holes drilled in it so it helps muffle too. I want this thing quiet. And also I want to put a recoil on it. I think this originally had a recoil, maybe. This is part of what would have been the recoil. It says to put oil in here every single use. There's a little spring-loaded ball there, and it goes into this hole right here. You can see the other side of it maybe. Anyway, I want to see if I can find a recoil. It's on the compression stroke. Recoil starter assembly to go on here. So if anyone has one, I don't want to buy another engine because I don't want to pay the shipping cost, you know, on something this big and have it, you know, it's cast iron. It weighs a lot, this engine. And a recoil would be kind of nice if somebody has a complete, I mean, everything from the blower housing out to the pull handle. Let me know, you know, spring good, you know, take all this stuff off. So if there's anything wrong or screwed up or incorrect on this engine for recoil, that I would have a recoil. So if you have a recoil for one of these REO engines, leave a comment or go to my about and email me, and well, you know, I'd be interested in getting it from you. That's the serial plate if you need the numbers for the engine. And I think I'll contact that guy. I got this, the pulley. I got some parts off. I got a a piston, a used piston and rod. I had a brand new set of rings that worked in it. They were for a Clinton engine, but they're exactly the same dimensions as what REO specs were. So they worked in this engine perfectly. And the throttle cable from, you know, that will come down here, and then there will be a little spring, you know, and I'll adjust the cable length so it only puts it about 3,000 RPM. And like I say, I'll put a little spring with a wire from the point, so when a barrel comes back from the throttle cable and hits that spring, it shuts the engine off. You know, these would have had a metal band thing from here that you push to the spark plug to stop them back in the day. But I want to just be able to shove that up and stop the engine. That's kind of where I'm at. But anyway, this is the project that I'm just rambling on about with no work. And I'm gonna, when I get to work on it, I'll make videos of actually doing the work on it. So if you like the video on the REO and the Trikeabout I'm gonna build with my 1954 REO engine that was frozen in a snowbank at an estate sale, and my estate sale tricycle. If you like the video of what I'm planning on doing with my estate sale stuff, hit the like button. It certainly helps. And if you like my channel, that 348 engine icon there that pops up will subscribe you. And thank you for watching my video.